Hi guys, welcome to this episode of RUE MORGUE TV. I'm RUE MORGUE Executive Editor Andrea Subissati, and one of the perks of the gig is that occasionally I get to see movies kind of early. And one of the movies I got to see kind of early for the November-December issue of the magazine is The Lighthouse, the highly anticipated follow-up to The Witch from Robert Eggers. It blew my mind, and I want to tell you why, so stay tuned.
Tell me, what's a timberman want with being a wickie?
Just looking to earn a living, just like any man. Starting new.
On the run.
2019 has been a year of highly anticipated follow-ups. We had Jordan Peele's follow-up to Get Out. We had Ari Aster's follow-up to Hereditary. Now, Robert Eggers is here with his follow-up to The Witch called The Lighthouse, which is coming out soon, and I want to tell you all about it.
Keeping secrets, are you?
No, sir.
Why don't you spill your beans?
Now, when it comes to The Lighthouse, I feel like it's very much a follow-up to The Witch. It's almost a spiritual sister, or perhaps brother, so to speak. The stories share the same DNA in that we're dealing with people in isolation, beset by something possibly external. Is it something supernatural? Is it something that's innate and deep within these characters? What I love about these films is it lets the viewer decide.
Just spill your beans.
So the movie is set in the 1890s and it takes place in an old lighthouse, and there are two men who are hired to maintain the lighthouse, basically, to keep it burning at night and to run the maintenance that needs to happen during the daytime. There's the captain, whose name is Thomas Wake, and he's played by Willem Dafoe, and he's very much your archetypal sea captain, like the kind of guy that you would see in pirate movies, totally like bad teeth, argy matey, loves his vodka kind of guy. And his underling is Ephraim Winslow, and he's played by Robert Pattinson. And Ephraim is a man of few words. He keeps to himself, he's not interested in drinking, this is just a gig for him. He just wants to do his work, get his pay, and move the fuck on. So as the days wear on, these two men are kind of working swing shifts. Thomas Wake, the captain, is responsible for keeping the beacon going at night. So during the day he sleeps, and then the two of them have dinner together before Ephraim goes to bed. And in between, if Thomas Wake is up when Ephraim is up and working, Thomas is just giving him shit. He's constantly criticizing him, criticizing his work, telling him to work harder, do better, and just basically being a giant asshole. But eventually, one night, Ephraim decides to join him in a couple of drinks at dinner time, and the two kind of start this really uneasy friendship. Sometimes they laugh and dance, sometimes they fight, sometimes things get really crazy, but basically their dynamic shifts throughout the movie, and this movie is completely about their dynamic, and the performances of the two leads are absolutely amazing. This is what makes this film. Now, as the days go on, we begin to realize that Wake has something of an obsession with the lighthouse beacon itself. There's a lot of shots of him gazing into the light and something just coming over him. And Winslow, too, becomes interested in the beacon, but Wake is very possessive about it. He locks it up. He's absolutely forbidden Winslow to go anywhere near it, and that's one of the film's many mysteries. One night, Ephraim spills the beans, so to speak. He tells Thomas something that he really shouldn't have, something that changes the dynamic between the two of them, and things go from bad to worse. And you can tell that I'm being very careful about spoilers. This isn't the kind of movie where like one errant sentence or word is going to ruin this film for you. It's very much an experience. It's something you've got to see to believe.
Why just spill your beans?
Now, the story, which was written by Robert Eggers as well as his brother Max, was inspired by two sources. One was an H.P. Lovecraft story that was actually unpublished and unfinished upon his death called The Lighthouse. And the other one is a real-life legend account from 1801 about two lighthouse keepers who were alone in a lighthouse. One of them died and the other one went crazy, believing that he would be blamed for his co-worker's death when they were discovered. Now that's not exactly what happens in this film, The Lighthouse, but it does have a kind of fairy tale, urban legend mythology built up into it, which is something that makes it really compelling.
How long have we been on this rock?
Now, I actually interviewed Eggers about this film for the November-December issue of RUE MORGUE magazine, which I will link to below, but he said something really funny to me. Basically, he said, "Nothing good happens when two men are isolated in a giant phallus." And that's what makes this film so great. Indeed, there's a lot of pent-up masculine energy at stake going on between these two men. There's the drinking prowess, the work ethic, the tales of being at sea, tales of women, all of these things clash and make up their dynamic. Now that interpersonal dynamic and these amazing performances from Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are really what make the film, but I would be remiss not to mention how beautifully shot it is. You know that it's black and white, but it's also shot in a 1:19:1 aspect ratio, which is really narrow, it's really boxy, it's really old-fashioned, and the reason for that, I mean, there were practical considerations. Obviously, we're dealing with a lighthouse that's as tall as it is wide, but Robert Eggers is very tuned into aesthetics, and I don't know if it's the black and white or the aspect ratio or some Robert Eggers magic, but this whole set is so sea-swept, you almost taste the salt by the end of it. You can almost smell the ocean. It's a very immersive cinematic experience.
5 weeks? 2 days? Help me to recollect.
Overall, I really loved this film, and if you loved the dark femininity of The Witch, you will love this really coarse masculinity of The Lighthouse. That's why I said that they're almost like sibling movies. And I talked to Eggers about this, and he had a lot of interesting things to say. So if you want to hear more about it, definitely pick up issue 191, the November-December issue of RUE MORGUE. We'll link to that below. And thanks for joining us here on RUE MORGUE TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.